And Tommy's on the hotline.
That'd be the CarX Tire and Auto hotline, Johnny.
Rattle, rattle, thunder, clatter, boom, boom, boom.
Tune in.
Don't worry, call the CarX man.
Good morning, Tommy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Tommy, you there?
Yes, I am.
Good, Tommy. How are you?
I'm
Good.
How are you?
Good to talk to you. Okay.
Good to talk to you.
Bears, your thoughts. Go ahead. No,
No, I could go. I could definitely go.
That's how they do it in New York. You just have to just go.
I love the probably directing this at Shay more than anyone. I love the outrage at the perceived outrage that exists from some of us who believe that there is something to be gained by Caleb Williams being in uniform tomorrow night. And it's a nuanced conversation. So to just huff and puff and blow your stack without really understanding where it's coming from, I think is a little weird, but it is.
Was I huffing and puffing?
I thought you were. I think you took a shot at the good kid.
Yurko was huffing and puffing yesterday.
He was. And listen,
he said Eberflus should be fired if they lose the Tennessee game.
Well, that's not going to happen, but I understand where he's coming from, and I would just suggest, just because he played 10 years in the league doesn't mean he's right about everything, but his perspective, I believe, is worth kind of.
But let me ask you a question, Tommy. If they
that sounded a little pointed. Sure, Cap. What do you got?
Wow.
Whoa, man.
What's happening this morning?
Are we just a little oversensitive today or what?
Good morning, Tommy. How are you?
I'm good, Jonathan.
Good to talk to you. Okay.
Were any of us huffing and puffing?
If they're the Texans not going to play their guys and Eberflus isn't going to play Tevin Jenkins and Braxton Jones and all these dudes up front, you want to put Caleb out there with a suspect offensive line as it is with the backups?
Cap, this is where I'll bring the volume down a little. This is the difference. We're not the Texans. Okay, that may be a secret, but we're not the Texans. Our quarterback, hasn't.
You play them in week 2. Why would you want to put anything on tape for them?
Cap, just listen. Okay, this is all I'm going to say to you. I'm not suggesting that playing Caleb Williams is going to enhance his ability to read defenses or throw in anticipation, any of that stuff. Here's my presentation to you, okay? And again, I'm not outraged by it. It doesn't change my opinion of this team. It doesn't change my optimism about things. It doesn't change how I feel about what the general manager has done and all the other stuff. Caleb Williams probably hasn't played from under center since he was, 9?
Correct.
He played in Lincoln Riley's system in Oklahoma, then at USC. In those situations, there is no structure. It's you stand out there, they show you signs of a goat, maybe Kirk Herbstreit, and a tire, and you're supposed to decipher what play to run, right? You don't go into a huddle, you don't call the play, there's no cadence, there's none of that stuff. And if you listen to some of the complaints coming out of Hallis Hall early in camp, it's that, hey, we're struggling with cadence, we're struggling with some pre-snap penalties and stuff like that. So what I would say to you, Cap, is that this would be a good opportunity to get Caleb some experience with some of that stuff, because I was up there yesterday and it's funny, there was 2 delay of game penalties, I think, and 2 other pre-snap penalties, and they were all the first team. They weren't the second or the third team. Like, there are a lot of really good things, but procedural issues are things that they've admitted that they've struggled with. So I'm just saying to you that I would not be opposed to having Caleb out there for you start the game, you play 3 plays, turn around and hand off every time, but go through the process of having the play called into you and getting into the huddle and calling the play to your teammates and then getting to the line of scrimmage and getting the play called without taking a delay of game penalty. Football coaches and football people are the kings of little things matter. Well, what is more important than those little things when it comes to running your offense? So this isn't an issue of me thinking that Caleb needs to see a defense in the NFL and get the timing down. These are the little things that he, A, hasn't done in college, and B, some of the things that they struggled with a little bit at camp. And they don't get as much contact with these guys as they did years ago. So it may sound ridiculous to a lot of people, but I talked to Tom Thayer, I talked to Mark Carrier, I talked to Yerk and other people. It doesn't make us right, but I don't think it's an outrageous concept. Nobody's asking for DJ to play. Nobody's asking for Keenan to play. Nobody's asking for Montez Sweat to play. But to go through the procedural issues, I think there is a benefit to it, and it wouldn't have, I don't believe, been a bad idea if that's what they did.
Tommy, if we could just take the emotion out of it, because you've been really loud here at this segment. Could you just, if you don't mind, we're on in the morning. We don't need you to be, yelling and breaking out the speakers. You just,
What is football season?
well, yeah, but you could just, please tone. I would like to be able to just go right down the middle here, if I may,
Sure.
and just tell you that if the Bears were not playing a Hall of Fame game, that Caleb would be out there against the Bills if it was just 3 preseason games. That's what I would say. This is a fourth one brings a little bit of a wrench into the works. And what I'm saying is that if they start off at Buffalo, Bengals and the Chiefs, we would see him out there
Of course,
in the
you
first
will.
quarters.
But why not take advantage of the benefit to the bonus time that you have?
They are. It's called training camp.
I was at training camp yesterday, and there are some issues that they need to clean up. And listen, Kap, I would just say this. And again, it doesn't change how I feel about it. I just don't think it's an outrageous concept that your rookie quarterback who's doing something new for the first time would benefit from being out there and going through the procedural stuff. I just don't. I don't think that that's an outrageous thought, especially, as I said, for a group of people that really, accentuate the little things totally matter. So I think he's going to get plenty of snaps going forward. I do. And like I said, it doesn't change how I feel about this season and everything else. And maybe, guys, I'm just a little bit scarred because last year when they opened up the season at Soldier Field against their biggest rival, what happened?
They got their ass kicked.
So, maybe there's some PTSD attached to that.
Mhm.
And maybe, and I will say this, Coach Eberflus said it's going to be a competitive training camp. I think that there's a noticeable uptick in the tempo of practice. I think that, there is more contact, which is all good stuff. But they better be ready to play against the Titans to open the season because there are high expectations for this group.
All right, this has been our Furnace Blast Good Morning Show.
Jonathan, did you say streaming or screaming?
Streaming.
Oh,
But it's only screaming when you're on.
that's not true.
I don't understand
That's
what
not
was
true.
happening there. Hopefully we can dial down the temperature
The guy
because
next to you screaming, take that, and I'm the loud one.
I'm very calm. I am ready.
I bet you were calm
Aim.
last night as the Cubs were once again flailing in the Queen City.
Cincinnati Reds.
Now,
Hey,
I was-
Slud in a second bite.
How about this too,
Listen
Jonathan?
to the
Like,
cowboy, Jeff Brantley.
the Reds are selling too. Like they
Yeah.
have no interest in winning because they have no interest in spending money, and they're still putting it on you. And you guys are throwing at our guys' heads. What's up with that? What are you doing?
You're better than that.
Why are you throwing at our
Nobody
heads?
threw at anybody.
13-4 right now. The Reds with the advantage on the Cub in this series. 13-4.
This season?
No, in this series.
Oh, scoring wise. Tommy, I got to ask you something.
Come on,
You're a smart, intelligent gentleman.
but
Why would you be on there with Sylvie opining that they should build around Garrett Crochet? By
Well-
the time they're ready to contend, Crochet will be in his 30s. You trade him as fast as you can.
But that to me is a response, though, Kap, of somebody that is scarred by the futility, which is fair.
That has
Because-
nothing to do with it.
Well, from my perspective, it does.
They don't
because-
play checkbook baseball, Tommy. They're not going to get Juan Soto and Anthony
So why don't
Santander.
they? So why don't we just relegate them and take them out of the major league?
Basically, they should.
So there we agree. Kap.
Here on the
We're
home of
good.
the White Sox, ESPN 1000.
My point is that, like, from my perspective, they should obviously, as we've all said, do business differently, right? They should.
Correct, but they're not.
and the A's.
They're not going to go spend. So you trade your most marketable asset,
And
do
then
it this
start
winter.
the cycle of ridiculousness again.
So let's give him 125 million or whatever the deal is, like Glass now got, and watch him pitch on a team that will not contend for several years.
Well, again, like that's my point. At what point do you change your routes? Do you change your aim and the way you do things? Like this to me would be like bringing in a new approach to White Sox baseball. Will it happen? No, because that's not what they do. But it doesn't mean it's not the right decision. I think I can't dismiss your point, Kap, that what the White Sox will do will continue to not spend money and will continue to not develop their people and continue not to hire the right people. That trend has been intact for a while, and that's probably the path that they will go. But if you ask me impartially what they should do, you should build around, or you should start to try to build around a 25-year-old arm, because you're going to trade him for somebody that you hope becomes him. And I know what your point is that, well, at that point, they'll be ready to win. Based on what you just said, they'll never be ready to win. So you're just in a loop. You're just running on a treadmill. There's no time that they're ever going to win until they change the way that they do business.
Yeah,
Correct, but I'm not giving $125 million to Garrett Crochet. I'm not doing it.
I understand the point, Tommy. I guess the point is that the ownership will not change. Like, you're not going to have Jerry Reinsdorf spinning through the nose along with young talent to be able to contend. That's where you are. I mean, as a Reds fans, you know what that's like, where you feel like you've got
what's left me crazy.
Yeah, you've got young talent that you're like, I can build around De La Cruz. I could build around. But again, when it comes to nut cutting time, you don't spend the money. And so the Sox are in the same boat. The Sox will not contend this decade. You know that, Tommy. Like, it's not happening,
Jonathan. But don't you feel like they've got you? Like, now what they've done is they've got you to start to see life the way that they want you to see life. So now, and again, Kap, I'm not suggesting that what you're saying won't ultimately happen. But now they've got you in line now. Now you're just starting to think the way they want you to think. Well, we're never going to win. We're not going to give you $120 million because we don't pay people. We and the A's are the only two organizations that have never given a player a $100 million contract. We don't develop people. You know, we do things wrong. At some point, you got to break the cycle. And why wouldn't you try to break the cycle if Chris Getz does have the ability to think differently than the previous regime and can change the way that things have gone? Why wouldn't you start with a guy that's 25 years old and has pitched like an ace this year? That's why I don't think it's outrageous.
It is outrageous because you have nothing in your quiver there in terms of talent that's going to be here.
Okay,
when that contract's up, you will have gone, yeah, Garrett pitched well for us. We gave him 5 for 125. Guess what? He's 30 years old, and the team stinks.
You're reading the Sox handbook back to them. You should be able to, all good teams in an environment where you can spend, you may have to pay a luxury tax, but you can spend pretty much whatever everybody else can in a big city like Chicago. You're just reading their playbook. Think differently.
Tommy, okay, because you say it with conviction doesn't make it right. They're not going to go out and get Garrett Cole as a free agent, Santander, trade for Ohtani. That's not the way they're going to do business here. So to sign Garrett Crochet is taking $125 million and lighting it on fire.
Not if you actually have the right people in place and people that can build a baseball team.
But they don't. And they're not going to. Chris Getz isn't going anywhere. Jerry's not.
So again, Kap, you're making a decision on what you should do with a player based on the ineptitude of the franchise, not on if this team wasn't the Sox, what would you do?
Well, you definitely would. You would pay the money and keep him as part of your franchise,
right?
But then, but again, all the other ownerships.
What's the right decision?
Well, the other ownerships are not the A's or the White Sox. That's the problem, or the Reds.
But you're right, and I'm pissed at the Reds. But you know, again, I can't. As somebody, you ask me, not you guys, but if somebody says, "What do you think the White Sox should do?" I'm not going to tell you what they should do based on how they do business. I'm going to tell you what I think a good franchise in their situation should do.
Yes, you are.
That's my point.
Yes.
No, a good franchise should trade him to whatever the best farm system is that's interested. Like, let's take, as Jim Bowden told us, the Orioles. If they give you Samuel Basallo, he's 6'4", he's going to be in the big leagues next year at age 20. He's your catcher. And they give you this guy at third base, and they give you that guy as a pitcher. You've just rebuilt three guys on your roster.
Right, and you gave me prospects. Garrett Crochet's not a prospect. He's a proven big league
But he's
starter.
not going to be part of the next great White Sox team. That's my point.
Nor possibly are the two guys you just mentioned, because they're prospects. And when those guys, if in fact they do what you think they're going to do, it comes time to pay them. What do you think the franchise will do?
Based on how they've done business?
Right.
If they don't get them locked up like they did with Eloy and Robert early,
which they're not going to,
then they're going to probably move them.
Okay. So now we're back on the hamster wheel, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you're in a cycle of suck. Sylvie calls it.
So at that point, then why do we even have a conversation about it? Do they play tonight? Are they with the Royals again tonight?
Yeah. This afternoon.
You can hear that.
This afternoon here on ESPN 1000.
Kap, again, I think we're arguing two different sides of this. You're arguing based on being bludgeoned by the White Sox hammer. right? I'm talking to you as, hey, let's find, you know what? Let's do things the right way. Let's change. Let's put our foot in the ground and pivot. What do you want them to do, Jonathan? Not based on what they have done in the past, but what do you want them to do? If I was a White Sox fan, I would want them to keep Garrett Crochet, find a way to extend that relationship and try to let him be the focus of a new movement towards a better place.
Well, because you're in this position now, Tommy, I want them to develop young talent because you're bereft of talent in the minor league system. From there, you have to be able to spend some kind of money to be able to field a Major League Baseball club. Then you need a manager. Then you need a way of playing the sport. That's the other thing. There's no style of play for the White Sox. So if you feel like Garrett Crochet is going to be that guy, you got to tell me, if I'm an owner, what's your timeline? I'll pay him, but how soon can you win? And that's not guaranteed.
It's not. And you gave me a full list of issues, and they're all valid. But one of those issues, I mean, what is I got 10,000 problems, and Garrett Crochet ain't one of them?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's a bar.
So that's all I'm saying. You're not going to have to, I'm not as enthusiastic about this as maybe I sound. I'm just telling you, if this was me, I would keep him. I would try to sign him, and I would try to make things different on the South Side. If I was Chris Getz, and I know you'd be bumping your head against different things, and it'll drive you crazy. But what's the right thing to do, guys, versus what is the Sox thing to do? The Sox thing to do is to trade him and find some guys that come up and maybe show a spark, and then let them go because you don't want to pay them, right? And then you trade them for new prospects, and we're going to do this again. And when they show a little bit of sign of life, what are they going to do? They're not going to pay them. So, like, Cap, I can have this conversation with you in perpetuity as long as I live, but what's right and versus what's the Sox way, I think, are two separate conversations.
Don't disagree, but the only thing I know is the Sox way. Go there. Brooks is going to make sure you have a great experience. Absolutely. The food's going to be amazing.
Go to dinner, maybe some baseball will break out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the marketing side's going to be amazing, and the baseball side, not so freaking much.
That's a great slogan.
As a Cap, you're one of the biggest optimists I know. You've got the Bears winning 19 games, and that's just in the regular season, which isn't even possible because they only play 17.
Yep.
But you think the Cubs are going to win the World Series every year? Why not show the same type of optimism that hopefully, they can change, and the best way to do that is to start with making a good decision as opposed to a bad decision.
Well, the reason why is because he doesn't care about the White Sox. All he cares about is the relationships and the people on his text.
Yeah,
that's
By
all
the
he
way,
cares
Jonathan,
about. Yeah,
I think I heard you guys play a little clip of our interview with Kevin Warren. My big take from that interview yesterday was Arlington Heights is back on.
Yeah, I think so.
Back Tommy, what have we been telling you on the morning show?
No, but again, Cap, this is like should Caleb be out there? There's nuance to this conversation. I've always believed that Paradise was the right path.
Yep.
I've also always told you from having conversations with Kevin, he is dug in and he's not using this as leverage. He wants this project on the lakefront. I don't think he was expecting the friction that he got from downstate legislators and city of Chicago legislators. And it's not like building a stadium in Minneapolis. That would be my, 2 cents from the outside.
All right. Danny has a guillotine with our heads on it because it's 9:01.
Oh, my bad.
We got to go.
All right. I love you guys.
We love you.
Thank you, Tommy.
Have a great day.
Peace.